trespassing tickets. Second, if county property is not being used as intended and people can build on it without a concern, then any homeless or vagrant person can not be removed from county property, because now you've set the precedence that you can build on county property no matter what. My ask, address the actions and information put out by your employees. My ask, I ask that Local Access Road.
Thank you for your public comment. You're welcome to email us your comments if you'd like. And I understand we're having some technical issues with Metro, so we need to recess for a few minutes while they sort those out, and we will be back in session when I get the word that they are all good to go. Your patience is appreciated. We're recessed. Item B2, just the two, not the whole. Yeah, gotcha.
Can someone talk into the microphone so we can do a test?
Test. Can you hear me, Tanya?
I can hear you, but just if you could maybe read something off the agenda.
Sure. I will say this regular meeting of the Lane County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, September 24th, 2024.
Thank you.
I see Tim as well.
I'm hearing online there's music and voice testing happening at the same time.
I don't know if Tim, that's more for Tim.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I just. Okay, a few more minutes. Okay, it looks like we can go ahead and start with the people online. We're not going to have a screen sharing that's happening in our call, so that means I will have I and the copy down if you need either. So I will just need you to see what you need share. Yeah, so what I'm going to do, I have no eyes on Harris Hall, and no Metro screen that's sharing what is happening in Harris Hall. So the people that are attending virtually will not see anything that's happening in Harris Hall. We will only have audio.
Okay. And will they be able to see your timer if anyone's giving public comment online?
They will, let me test that right now.
We can see.
Heather, can you see the timer?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so then a shared screen will be showing, but no cameras showing what's happening in Harris Hall.
Great. Okay. So any on-screen presentations they'll be able to see. Got it.
Yes.
Okay. Terrific. Thank you. So do you need a countdown, or are we ready to just go right back in session?
We are ready to go back.
Reconvene this regular meeting of the Board of Lane County Commissioners for Tuesday, September 24th, 2024. Thank you all for your patience while we had that brief pause due to some technical challenges. We were just getting started on our public comment portion, and so the next person signed up is David Willie, it looks like, and please come to the podium, state your name for the record, and keep an eye on the 3-minute. Tanya, it is still set at 0, so we do need it at 3 minutes, please. Thank you. And welcome, good morning. Thank you for being here. You may begin.
Thank you. My name is David Willis, and I reside in Springfield. I am here as the volunteer Springfield Communications Director of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Previously, I gave some small gift boxes of pears, and they're representative of 1.5 million pounds of pears harvested by hand, taking 12,000 volunteer hours by volunteers over 2 to 3 weeks in late summer from one of our church welfare farms. Our pear farm is located in Medford, and it has 20,000 trees and 55 acres. 100,000 pounds of pears are distributed to food pantries in Ashland, Medford, Wairika, Grants Pass, Coos Bay, Portland, Roseburg, and Klamath Falls. The rest of the The rest of the pears are shipped to Idaho, where they are canned, and the cans are distributed for free to communities, families, and people in need all over the world. addressing needs such as food insecurity, malnutrition, and disaster relief. Hopefully, these pairs can convey to you our thanks and acknowledgement for you, your paid and also non-paid staff and volunteers in everything that you do. We also want to thank you for encouraging, honoring, and protecting the freedom of religion in our community. We also are excited to extend an invitation to you to the open house and dedication of the Willamette Valley Temple, located in the Gateway area, hopefully by the end of next year. The monies for this important building come from voluntary donations of tithing and fast offerings from our church members all over the world, even those from the most humble circumstances. We believe that strong families and diverse religious communities and values have been the cement that solidifies society and are also the bedrock of principles that guide people of all ages. I have found that people of faith try to consistently follow this admonition. We believe in being honest, true, chaste, benevolent, virtuous, and in doing good to all men and women. Indeed, we may say that we follow the admonition of the Apostle Paul. We believe all things, we hope all things. We have endured many things and hope to be able to endure all things. If there is anything virtuous, lovely, or of good report, or praiseworthy, we seek after these things. Myself and others have seen people change, including ourselves, in marvelous ways. We do believe that through the atonement and grace of Christ, all humankind may be saved by obedience to the laws and ordinances of the gospel of Jesus Christ. These prayers are just a small token of our appreciation for your service and the many hours you give to our community. We hope you know how much you are appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Next up is David Eigel, who will be followed by Viggo Toftemark.
David Eigel. I'm going to be brief. I'm suppressing some very real anger this morning. The city of Eugene has a proud history of black residents going back over 125 years. Eugene was not a sundown town. For example, in 1920, the federal census reported 13 black residents in Lane County. Amazingly, 9 of those 13 in this huge county lived in Eugene. That's a rather odd thing, considering supposedly they had to leave every sundown and come back in the morning. I don't think so. If anyone has any information that the narrative used to promote the Ferry Street Bridge and Memorial is other than an inane fraud, please speak up. There's going to be a reckoning. Soliciting donations by making misrepresentations is an Oregon Class A misdemeanor, punishable by up to 1 year imprisonment plus fine. I'm asking the commissioners to, first, cease financial support for the fake history Ferry Street Bridge Community Memorial. 2, take action to recover the monies that have already been advanced, if any. And 3, support re-education on this and other related nonsense that have been put out about our history. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Next up is Viggo Toftemark, who will be followed by John Umenhofer.
My name is Viggo Toftemark. I reside in Triangle Lake area. I own a campground there, and I'm here in regards to an audit in regard to the land management, and my issues with that campground has brought me here this morning to explain that some of the practice of the land management basically ended up costing me $14,000 due to a complaint by the only person in the 16 years I've owned the campground that ever complained. And that person is what issued a thing that made me lose the status of a campground on the basis of not restarting it after I purchased it within 2 years. I wasn't aware of that, and I was never informed of that in the first 4 years I owned the campground, and not until I got a letter on 3 years ago from the Lane County Land Management that I was in non-compliance, and I was warned of a $2,000 a day fine in 2 weeks if I didn't comply. I found that quite striking, and I went to the board, I went to the office and offered to do whatever we could to get this back. We had people camping there. We had the whole summer sold out, and when the technicians at the counter couldn't help me. I called for the enforcement officer, and she informed me when I asked for a little bit of help to get through this, that they were not there to help me. And I was struck by that statement and backed off and proceeded. And we're a nonprofit campground that we just revived it for the sake of the people who love the campground. And I found this to be a very challenging situation to go through that it took all our profit from one summer to get through this process with a land use consultant that bailed me out and got us back in business, broke. But we're still there due to a lot of financial help from volunteers. We never were able to turn it over to Lane County Parks due to the COVID situation that hit right in the middle of it. And so we are just here to ask you guys, you people on the board, when you get to this audit, to do everything you can with integrity to change some of the internal things that are not justifiable or right within the land management. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment. Next up is John Umenhofer, and that is the last person I have signed up here in Harris Hall.
Good morning. Okay, my name is John Umenhofer. I don't need to go through, I think, a lot of the details of the case we dealt with involving a building that was built without permits. There was a dispute over in the Springfield area. My biggest concern, what I want to say today, is that this was expensive for the neighborhood and for the county because I believe there was, we were given conflicting information by land management that caused a lot of that during the building process. And when we were done, they were able to rename it the project and therefore bypass all of the floodplain laws and everything else that had been determined by the county through a very lengthy variance process. So you've already heard kind of the grievances on that. I guess what I'm here today to speak on a little bit is that they had a process when you were doing your auditing, and I know there's some reservations as far as doing audits and doing that type of thing, and I'm here to tell you that I think that they need to do more audits of county divisions and throughout the county and all government agencies. We are in increasingly tough financial times, trying to find every dollar, stretch it to make sure that it's used efficiently. And the only way you're going to find that out usually is to bring in somebody independent to tell you whether they're doing a good job or not. And if they come back and say they're doing a great job, then it wasn't wasted money or time. It means that they looked into it, and you can feel good that your division's either doing that, or if they come back with recommendations and you make changes, that's good too. I'm retired now after 36 years of government, working for the government. And I saw in my career, also in management for part of my career, I saw a lot of government waste and a lot of situations where things could be done more efficiently. And what I would challenge everyone in this room and everyone that's worked in government that's here in this building, I want to ask you how many meetings you've been to in your careers with government where you've left it feeling, well, that was a waste of my time, and the people in this division or the people we were just speaking to could do a better job or maybe should do something else. We've all had that experience. Well, the way you're going to discover that and the way you're going to make your systems better is to use audits, and preferably outside audits that are independent and can make those determinations. So I would just say I support that. I'd like to see more of it in the future, and so that they can prevent, again, so that things can run more efficiently. In closing, by renaming stuff in our case, I think it's a good example that we've set precedents also for land use. For instance, you can't have a yurt down by the river, but if you put poly underneath it and staple it around and it floats, it's now a boat. So that's the road we're going down. Thanks.
Thank you for your public comment. At this time, I'll turn it over to Tanya to see if there's anyone who wishes to provide 3 minutes of public comment to the board virtually.
Thank you, Chair. If you're online and would like to give public comment at the Board of County Commissioners meeting for September 24th, please raise your virtual hand. I do not see any virtual hands raised, so I will return the meeting back to you.
Thank you, Tanya. Is there anyone else who arrived after the sign-in sheet was handed up who wishes to present to the board this morning? Seeing none, I will close the public comment portion. We will move into commissioners' response to public comment or any other issues or remonstrance they wish to raise, and I will just note before we do that Commissioner Farr is absent excused this morning. To the board. Vice Chair.
Thank you again, everyone, for coming for public testimony. I know you got a lot of things to do on a Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock. Even those retired, you tend to be more busy than you've ever been when you work, so I appreciate you coming here. Some of the things we're still dealing with in the county, thank you for your support of the land management audit. I think it revealed a lot of good things that we as a board are going to address in the future. We consistently get complaints and situations that come across our desk with emails of people having difficulty, even though there are some successes and the balancing of the non-successes, the successes, we'd like to keep those numbers more on the positive side. So thank you for supporting that, and I think we're on the right track. David Willis, you're probably gone already, but thank you for at least coming together with the community of Springfield and promoting that great church build. But I have to tell you, I learned some things today about, they have farms and pears and all kinds of things. And it just seems to me that as the good things that people do in the community, there's deep tentacles that none of us know about. And I certainly appreciated hearing that today. And David Eigel, thanks again for giving us the history lessons today. We certainly appreciate that. Your time and effort, sir, is appreciated. Thank you much.
Commissioner Seneca.
Thanks, Chair. Mr. Gilbride, I look forward to learning more about this. First I've heard. So, yeah, being that that's in my district, let's communicate later about that. Vigo, I heard about your campground, and I'm glad to hear it's up and operating again. For anybody that doesn't know, if I recall, it's the old Blatchley campground outside Triangle Lake. Just a beautiful place. Got some people in here that might want to talk to you about utilizing it. Not just Mr. Emmenhofer, 36 years. So you understand that. Yes, we could always do better, but we're also have a lot of people here that are doing the right thing and doing what they can every time. And I'm looking at this audit as I've gone through it. It can be a positive spin on it, just like you said. I've talked with Keir a lot, and we'll get into it later, but, most of the reports and most of the things that LMB does go through correct. It's these outliers that it looks like we need to work on, and that's something that we can work towards doing. So thanks for coming in. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Well, thank you all for coming out. Mr. Eigel, I'm just going to address your comments by saying you and I do not agree on a lot of things. And the use of the phrase re-education, I think you know well enough why you inserted that comment in your comments. And it's just increasingly disturbing to me that we have a project in our community. I was thrilled to be able to present and speak at the Black Cultural Initiative event a week ago Sunday to honor historic founding Black families in this community. And I don't usually address people directly and individually, but your persistence in coming here and presenting a revisionist version of Black history in Eugene is puzzling to me. I know you've sent me many emails. I do not respond to those, but I want you to know I do receive them and I do read them. With that, we will move on to our consent calendar. And this morning, we have a number of items, as was noticed earlier, although I know we had some technical challenges, so I'll just note for the public that item B2 has been removed from the consent calendar. These are all items considered routine business and are passed in a single motion without deliberation, and that item B2 will be discussed under county administration. So with that, I'll look for a motion.
Chair, I move to adopt and approve the consent calendar for Tuesday, September 24th, 2024 as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved by the Vice Chair and seconded by Commissioner Buck to approve today's consent calendar. All those in favor, please signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0 with Commissioner Farr absent excused. And that puts us into item 6, County Administration. Again, good morning. Mr. Greg Rickoff, our Assistant County Administrator, is standing in for our Administrator, Mr. Moker Heisky, who is out of state at a conference this week. And first up will be the new 6A, which is Order 24-09-24-07, to talk about activities in Lane County parks and prescribed burns at the Howard Buford Recreation Area. And I see our Office of County Council Representative Emily Vario coming to the table. I'll leave it to you to welcome anyone else who's presenting for us on this item. Thank you.
Chair Trieger, thank you. And I did take the step to remove this off of the consent calendar. This was a late arriving issue. It is prescribed burn, which is something we have done traditionally, but at the time that we're talking to you about the fires still, we can't say raging, but still ongoing in our forests, I thought it would be important for us to talk about the fires that we ourselves are going to set with great control. With that, Steve Rayfuse, you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, thank you. So my name is Steve Rayfuse. I'm Superintendent of Parks for Lane County, and I just want to introduce this item. So we're requesting a permit from the board to implement prescribed burns in Howard Buford area from starting September 24th through June 30th of next year. The permit is needed to comply with ORS statutes 476380, which essentially requires that to do any prescribed burns or burning on land outside of a fire protection district, it's sort of the default is to go to seek approval from the county commission in the statute. So Howard Buford Recreation Area is one of these interesting properties that lies outside of a rural fire protection district and an ODF fire protection district. And so we've been doing prescribed burns at Howard Buford Recreation Area for years. And the typical process is to contract with the Oregon Department of Forestry to ensure that we do have that fire protection. Despite being outside the district, we have done that this year, and we've paid through the year to have that fire protection at HBRA. We also work with the Pleasant Hill Goshen Fire District as well to ensure that we have, and if resources are available, support there when we do prescribed burns. As part of the larger process as well for prescribed burning, we do permit with LRAPA to ensure that all the conditions are right. So this is a very, there's a lot of details and a lot of conditions that have to line up right to ensure that we can do burns. And so we typically have a plan, all the resources are in place, you have your fire suppression equipment on site, and your team's prepared. But in the end, sometimes you don't get to burn on the days that you want because the conditions don't line up, whether that's humidity or winds. And so that's an overview. It is a bit of an oversight. We had been under the impression that we were fully in compliance in the past, just as we were working with the Oregon Department of Forestry to make sure that we have that fire protection. But in reviewing the statutes, we noticed that we needed to come to the Board of County Commissioners, so we wanted to make sure that we're above board.
I'd like to praise the work of Emily Vario, who I think caught this issue for us, and the fact that, in spite of the fact that we've done this for several years, we needed to be following a different process. So, Emily, if you'd like to say a few words.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chair. Thank you. The statute is very clear that if the area that is going to be required for the prescribed burn is outside of the fire district or the Oregon Department of Forestry, it does fall within the authority and purview of the Board of County Commissioners for that area. And as this area does fall outside of those, it does fall to the board to issue that permit. And that was the reason why we, based off the conditions that are needed for the prescribed burn, it was why we had a very late addition to this week's agenda.
Yeah, I'll just highlight there's a few things in your packet. If you want more background information, I'm Ed Alverson, Natural Areas Coordinator for Lane County Parks. And this issue is addressed in the Howard Buford Recreation Area Habitat Management Plan, which was adopted by the board in 2018. There's a whole chapter on prescribed burning and with a lot of background information. There's also goals and objectives related to prescribed burning. So there's more information in there. And also the last attachment is a photo comparison showing a particular site as it's being burned in the fall, and then the following spring when all the wildflowers are blooming. And you can see the fire line in the photo, and the flame lengths are pretty easygoing. It's very much under control. So this is what we do in the park. We also have been coordinating informally with members of the board who represent the area of the parks, and Commissioner Buck has been in the loop in the past. So we're trying to remedy this oversight now that we're aware of it, but we've been working with the board all along.
Thank you for that. And I know for anyone watching online, the attachments or photos Mr. Alverson just referenced are, if you link on the view materials on item, what was published originally as B2 on our agenda, you can see those photos that he's referencing. And this is just a great way to get the word out to the public as well. I know our public information officer always makes announcements through the various media channels when we are doing the burns, so folks know. But are there any questions or comments from the board on this item? Vice Chair.
Yeah, thank you. Just a comment. Hey, great job, everyone, for catching this. I mean, things that we always do, we usually do, we tend to miss look at what really is important or what's changed. So great on all of you for doing that and doing it the right way. And the prescribed burn and management of that area is really important. So thank you for doing that.
Without any other questions or comments from the board, if there's anything else from staff, County Council, please.
Yes, there is a slight error in the board order. The date listed should be September 24th through June of 2025, not December 24th, 24.
So June of 25.
It should be September to June.
September, oh, got it, thank you. So with that, I will look for a motion with that recommended amendment.
Chair, I've got a motion. I move to approval to seek issuance for a permit to Lane County Parks to conduct prescribed burns in the Howard Buford Recreation Area per Board Order 2409-2404 for the months between September and June of 2025. Thank you.
I have this as 07 on my agenda.
Is it 07 or 04?
07.
07. Let me rephrase that. I move approval to seek issuance for a permit to Lane County Parks to conduct prescribed burns in the Howard Buford Recreational Area per Order 2409-2407 for the months of September 24 through June of 25.
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Buck, or excuse me, by Vice Chair and seconded by Commissioner Buck. Is there any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0 with Commissioner Farr absent excused. Passage of Order 24-09-24-07 in the matter of approving a permit to Lane County Parks to conduct prescribed burns in the Howard Buford Recreation Area with the date amendment as described to reflect, this is for the period of December 2024 through, excuse me, September 2024 through June of 2025. Thank you so much. Thank you all. And now we will move into what was originally posted as item 6A, which is a report from Travel Lane County. This is a semi-annual report, and I will, for the first time, welcome Travel Lane County's new Executive Director, Samara Phelps, incoming President and CEO of Travel Lane, and just note and offer one more opportunity to give public appreciation to Kari Westland, outgoing executive who is in the audience to provide backup and support. And it's great to see you one more time here in Harris Hall. And I see Andy Vibora is also with us from Travel Lane. So welcome, Ms. Phelps. I will turn the presentation over to you. And for anyone watching online, I think you should be able to see our screen share. But again, we've been having technical difficulties today. So if not, and you want to follow along, go to the agenda online and click on View Material under this item, and you'll be able to see what we see here. Thank you. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. Welcome and good morning.
Thank you so much. Chair Trieger, County Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to present the formal annual report for Travel Lane County's work in fiscal year of 2024. And as mentioned, I am new. It's also an opportunity to introduce myself to you. But really, this work was done with the support of the board members and the staff at Travel Lane County. So I want to acknowledge those that are here in the room to support. So raise your hand if you're part of this team. We have board and staff represented today, and I couldn't be more honored to get to share this work with you today. As mentioned, I'm new. My name is Samara Phelps, and I began as CEO of Travel Lane County on Monday, September 16th, so that's last Monday, following 9 years in destination development and marketing with Clackamas County, Oregon's Mount Hood territory. As part of that, I was CEO for 5 years. In that role and with that team, I was a member of the county's executive management team, led the countywide destination organization, and also oversaw the Mount Hood and Columbia River Gorge Regional Destination Management Organization. I'm also engaged with statewide leadership in the destination and travel space with the Oregon Destination Association, where I serve as chair. While I'm 1 week into the role, I'm very familiar with Lane County and with Travel Lane County. I was born and raised here in Eugene, and my background includes work in museums and environmental education, developing youth and cultural science and education programs here in Eugene and also on Kauai and Hawaii. When I returned to this community, I joined the team here at Travel Lane County and spent 8 years on staff. I am a boomerang. I'm back. When I left, it was with the goal of returning as CEO. I love Lane County. This is my favorite place in the world. And I am both honored to serve as CEO and committed to leading this organization and this destination through stewardship of the place, a triple bottom line of economic, environmental, and social health of our county. Your investment in Travel Lane County with your TLT dollars, we are your destination marketing contractor, and it's going to continue to be managed under my leadership with the same strong stewardship principles as we generate economic growth that you saw under Carrie's leadership. So we have a very smooth transition and a strong stability in our board and our staff as we take on this new leadership role after 28 years. As in the past, under Carrie's leadership, board and staff continue to work with the well-being of our community first and foremost, and the industry as well, with an eye to programs that serve both the residents and the visitors to make this place a great place to live, work, play, and visit. Our work is one of our investments in one of your investments, in countywide economic development, and it helps to grow our economy. When Carrie arrived 28 years ago, 2.1 points of TLT invested in Travel Lane County totaled $800,000. Now, 2.1 points of TLT represents an investment of close to $4 million. At around 20% of total TLT, that means the other 80% of TLT and those programs have shown the same kind of growth. And this impacts local government programs in significant and positive ways and includes the increase in funding for the Lane Event Center and the Lane History Museum, all funded through TLT. Our work is to grow visitor spending and overnight stays to result in a growing economy and growing the TLT for all its recipients. We are proud to do this work in service to Lane County and of the effectiveness of our destination programs. Growing lodging tax collection allows us to leverage more tools and channels to reach the public, increasing visitor spending, and also serving our residents with more information resources on meaningful experiences close to home. We want to make sure our residents also know this is a great place to visit and play. Well, similar organizations have larger budgets. Portland, at $30 million annually, is the largest example here in the state of Oregon. We feel great about Travel Lane County's relevance to community, industry leadership, and the results of our professional staff team that they generate with your investment in Travel Lane County. We want you to stay connected to this work and to ensure that you have the information on our programs to maintain your knowledge and your confidence in us. We do this through presentations like this of an annual report and a semi-annual report, and also by providing access to our board reports monthly. So, with that introduction and background on Travel Lane County and your investment in us, let's talk about what we were able to do in this past fiscal year. Our fiscal year concluded June 30th, and we start off with some industry indicators. The overall health metrics show visitor spending topping $1 billion during calendar year 2023 for a second consecutive year. Visitor demand was strong, though it did not top 2022, which was a record year pretty much everywhere for travel. This slight backing off on demand represents the overall travel volume, and in this case, we see that in most markets that demand backed off of that basic revenge travel post-pandemic in 2022. You can see this softening in demand on the occupancy numbers for both our hotels and our short-term vacation rentals. At the same time, rate and therefore revenue is up based on strong rate gains at our hotels, which overcame rate reductions at the short-term rentals. But do keep in mind that the previous year, fiscal year 23, included the mega demand generated by this community hosting Oregon 22, the World Athletics Championships. That had a huge impact on the number of vacation rentals in our community and the rates they were able to charge. Room tax collections are a key performance indicator for the industry and for our community. And you are definitely driving a steep gain in this chart with the new 2% TLT put in place January of 2023. But there is real growth represented in this graph as well, that with revenue continuing to grow even as our supply and our occupancy rates fell. The first chart on this slide shows the important impact of winter events with 2 spikes in demand and revenue on the weekends where we were able to host volleyball tournaments. We share this to underscore the opportunity to drive economic growth through winter event space and healthy activities that serve our residents as well as our visitors. As you re-envision the Lane Event Center campus and make investment decisions there, this is a great opportunity. Our funding for this period won't be complete until November, when the Department of Revenue will send a quarterly TLT for the April, May, and June, so the final quarter. We anticipate that quarter to be very strong, given the large track and field events held over the course of that time, including the NC2A Championships, the Pre-Classic, the OSAA High School Championships, the Oregon Relays, the Nike Outdoor National High School Championships, and, if you remember, 10 days of Olympic trials.
Come on.
The full program year is an estimate on this graph. At the time of the annual report, we anticipated TLT for the full program year could approach 30 million, but there may be some double counting in the Department of Revenue reports throwing us off a bit. So we will come back to you at mid-year in February after we receive that final payment with a final number for the total TLT collections. But the important takeaway here is that we do know that it will be a significant increase from the fiscal year 23, which reached $23 million in collections. Now, the beauty of this work is for us to dive into the fiscal year 24 and what we did to drive demand for leisure, convention, and sports, and also support a sustainable, accessible, and inclusive destination. As your destination marketers, we are excellent at storytelling. This is our superpower for Lane County. We continue to make gains in destination awareness and reputation, building through data-informed strategies for paid, owned, and earned media channels. You can see here that we achieved amazing exposure in fiscal year 24 at 66.8 million impressions for our targeted audiences, speaking to that strategy, and that drove 314,000 clicks into our website landing pages. And overall, we achieved 1.7 billion, that's with a B, impressions for the destination. Excellent year of storytelling for us. Next, we talk about convention marketing efforts, which returned solid results and included 2 key industry conferences that we hosted this month. One was the One West Tourism Alliance's Education Summit earlier this month, which is an alliance of organizations like ours from across the Western states. And then we're hosting Tourism Care's Meaningful Travel Summit that starts here in Eugene on Monday. This is an excellent alignment with our pillars of accessibility, sustainability, and inclusion. Overall, our work in conventions produced 87 convention groups that we worked with, confirmed 32 pieces of business that represent 5.4 million in estimated economic impact from those events. And at the beginning, we talked a little bit about the impact a Big Spring at Hayward Field had on the TLT. With a proven track record, see what I did there, for hosting world-class events, the sports team and the entire community works to maintain that standard of excellence. We continue to work to maintain a strong track brand that hosting these large events brings. This year, we helped to establish the Welcome to Tracktown stakeholder group that created a unified brand for street banners that represented 6 major organizations and events hosted in the community. Next month, we're hosting an event to celebrate the staff of our hospitality businesses who delivered on that promise of Tracktown, providing customer service to athletes, officials, and fans through the busy spring and summer season of events. But sport in Lane County is more than track and field. The Sports Commission and staff team work to deliver the same level of exceptional experience for youth, recreational, and professional athletes in a wide range of sports in communities across Lane County. This past year, we booked 21 sports events overall for an estimated direct spending impact of $36.6 million. This includes rebooking the U.S. Rowing Championships in Lowell on Dexter and the USA BMX Lumberjack Nationals after hosting successful events in the past, along with the new events like the Flying V Youth Volleyball event coming to the Lane Event Center this year. The sports team reputation as a valued partner is driving meaningful engagement with 41% open rates on their e-newsletters. Many of you have had a chance to work with us and know that Travel Lane County's work is founded in partnership and collaboration with businesses, agencies, individuals, and community groups throughout the county. Our work is to serve stakeholders resulted in some big wins and changes this year in our structure. With all visitor-oriented businesses able to leverage our platforms for free, national recognition of our work on hearing loops, placement of all-terrain mobility chairs in partnership with Lane County Parks and David's Chair in both Florence for beach access and at Mount Pisgah. We topped it all off with a record turnout for our annual luncheon in May. Carrie's retirement may have had something to do with that, but it speaks to the partners and how they feel about our work. And with our mission to drive overnight stays for a vibrant year-round county-wide economy, to do this and ensure that our work is responsive to the communities we serve, Destination Development here at Travel Lane County works with each of our rural communities through local tourism committees. These connections are opportunities for learning and sharing local insights and data to support impactful and aligned efforts at the local and county levels. This year, Destination Development work was extra rewarding as the After Heidi continued its path towards designation as an Oregon Scenic Bikeway that will connect the McKenzie River corridor to West Fur for cyclists. Connect Lane cycling route signage work was reestablished, trail accessibility mapping was improved, and the Oak Ridge Pump Track feasibility work got underway through direct support from Travel Lane County as well as Lane County. As reported at mid-year, we also formed the Travel Lane County Charitable Fund. This is a separate 501c3 created to support public benefit projects that make this a better place to live and to visit. This is a tool we can use to draw private donations and grant funding for projects that benefit public broadly, with an indoor facility that can host winter sports events, trade shows, and also serve as emergency respite space as needed. And then integrated marketing is really the stewardship of our brand and the feeling of what this place is. And they create the content to showcase this destination. Our website is that true workhorse for us and a powerful tool for content that tells the rich stories of our destination here in Lane County. We are proud to see our performance indicators continue to gain, as is summarized in this slide, with engaged sessions up over 15% and 33.6 million views of our short-form videos. We just posted 10-second videos also for many communities at baggage claim at Eugene Airport as people are welcomed into our community. And then here we include a list of our county-wide board representing both public and private sectors, and we appreciate their stewardship of our organization and their high expectations of our work. And I want to take this moment to acknowledge their dedication to serving all of Lane County with their time on our board. We've also included our Sports Advisory Council, which meets to confer with the Sports Commission staff on goals and strategies for countywide impact. And a list of the FY24 staff team, which I am so proud to join and work with for a strong future. And with that, I summarize that Traveling County feels an extraordinary strong sense of stewardship and shared stake in the future of Lane County. Our role in strengthening this community through TLT Generations supports the economy overall and many programs and jurisdictions, both at the county and city levels. With this, we report to you twice a year under this rolling 3-year grant agreement. Each fall, as we present our annual update, we request a 1-year extension, taking the term to almost 3 years. That allows us to build and execute multi-year strategies and contracts in good faith and with long-term planning. I hope and humbly request that you will take formal action this morning to extend the contract by 1 year again. And with that, I look forward to working closely with you, and we'll be asking for individual meetings to get to know you and your motivations as your schedules allow. And thank you for the opportunity to share this work that we're so proud of, and I'm happy to answer questions that you may have.
Thank you. Pardon me. Thank you so much. And again, welcome to you, and great appreciation to Kari Westland. Welcome to Big Shoes.
Yeah, right?
But I think we're off to a good start. And just procedurally, before I open it up to the board, this is report only, and the matter of the contract renewal will come back before us as business, I presume, sometime in October.
Correct, yes.
Great, thank you. So with that, to the board. Commissioner Buck.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Sure we'll be able to talk more soon. Thank you to the board for coming. Appreciate you, and we don't often get to see each other because I'm not the liaison to your board, so thank you for coming. I want to also thank you for all your work on hearing loops. This is like a special issue for me because I have family members that struggle with hearing, and I applaud your effort for expanding that program. And I saw your slide where you are adding more and more all the time. Is this an ongoing effort, or as some funding comes through?
I'll let Andy speak to that.
We were fortunate that we budgeted some money early on to start the program, and then Travel Oregon gave us a grant to extend that we finished up this past year. In the current budget, we have a little bit to extend that maybe to a few more hotels, but in terms of larger projects, we'd be looking for partners and grants to extend that, but it is something that we want to continue to pursue.
Excellent. Definitely support all the efforts there. I know that's just one minor thing of all the things that you do, but that happens to really hit home for me. I've traveled recently for some work-related events, and since you're here and you didn't necessarily talk about this, but I thought that you might be in the know. Going through the Eugene airport, it was packed. It packed so much that I actually was very concerned that it was a fire hazard, and was very curious if you knew what was going on with the expansion or an expansion at the Eugene airport. And I did see the video there at Baggage Claim.
Yes. I will just,
go ahead.
I'll kick it off with the high-level version of that. We are actually hosting our board at the airport on Thursday to get a behind the scenes. So we will be able to have more detailed information from Catherine Stevens. But we work closely with the airport on making sure that that service meets the demands of our community, and also we're able to leverage it for the visitor industry. Many changes in our community, Big Ten, sports being one of them. So we do work closely with them. The expansion is well underway and visioned for that future, and we will have more details as we approach following our board meeting on Thursday. But if you have a detail to add, Andy, I'd be happy.
I spent 6 years on the Airport Advisory Committee and was involved in some or many of those meetings in terms of that planning. And now Natalie Inouye on our team serves on the advisory committee. So we're happy to share some links with you on kind of that timing of that. But there are some preliminary projects that set them up for the concourse expansion. We may see a little bit of decrease in traffic as Southwest cuts back on a couple of their trips starting in the first of the year. But the airport is always working hard to add other destinations. And so, I think it's going to continue to be pretty crowded out there until that expansion gets built.
I appreciate that, and I don't say that lightly. Like, it was so packed, and I think, things change with airlines. Something's delayed, a whole line of people had to come off, they went on, then they had to come off, and other flights are coming, and it just didn't seem safe. So that's why I brought it up. So I'd love to learn more about that in the future if you're able to reach out. And I did have another question about how do you monitor vacation rentals when you do this? Do you have like a one-stop shop where you're able to find all those vacation rentals?
I'll let you take it, Andy.
Yeah, we contract with a vendor called AirDNA that aggregates data on short-term rentals across all platforms. And so we're able to look at it in a variety of different ways. We can see what properties are for sale versus ones that are actively being listed. And then much like the Smith Travel research data that we get on hotels that tells us those rates and occupancy and demand factors, we can get that same information for all short-term rentals in the area. And we're now starting to work with them to drill down. So we had some questions from Dune City, and I was talking to the new city administrator there. They're trying to get a handle on how many they have inside the city limits because they have a registration program for their short-term rentals. And when I sent her the screenshot of what we show, she was surprised by that because they don't have that many registrations. So it gives them a tool to then go and talk to their community about how those properties are being used and that information. So yes, we do have a source, and we're happy to utilize that for all of our communities. And one of the things with working with the vendor for Dune City that we found out is working through LCOG to get the shape files for the city limits, then they can overlay that on the data and we can drill down to very specific city limits versus some of these larger geographic areas that come up on our dashboard currently.
And that using data like that is one of the things we're finding more and more as destination organizations is a real value that we can add in terms of those overlays, right? A lens as well as the opportunity to have some specific data sources that maybe you as an individual municipality might not have access to, or an individual business, but we can start leveraging that collectively to have some of that data and information to be able to answer some of our community problems.
Thank you. I wasn't aware of that particular app or website. My only final thought is, I know we're looking for winter venues, and we're in this process of doing envisioning for the fairgrounds. I continue to be an advocate for convention center space. I know that may not be the vision of Eugene or the remaining amount of the county, but I continue to advocate for that highly. But it's a process, and I look forward to getting that underway. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Seneca.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you, Ms. Phelps. Of course, Carrie, you will be greatly missed. Your smile and constant positivity. Lane County sells itself, but you do a great job being there. This stuff's really exciting. My wife and I talked a while back. It's like, why do we travel for hours when we literally live in the most beautiful county around? And so we've started taking advantage of that, and it truly is amazing. Not that you guys don't have a hard job, but your job is selling a great place. And I appreciate showing how important these TLT dollars are, and that that looking at that return on investment for what we're getting, and I feel it's clearly in the right hands. And being that my daughters aren't here, what are social media impressions? Do we know?
Yeah, social media impressions are about those eyeballs on our storytelling and our content. So we are measuring for that brand awareness and that exposure, and then we drill down for some of those more specific things like we talked about in terms of conversions that we're looking for. Either specific actions we want that person to take after having been exposed to our storytelling. Excuse me, tickle there. But impressions is really about that, who's being exposed to and has a chance to see our stories and see our destination.
Got it. Okay, excellent. Just want to say, encourage the David's Chair part. Brett and I have talked about that a lot, and what a great program, and I'm really glad to see you guys are on board.
It is really remarkable. And just to your comments as well, Commissioner Buck, the response we have around our dedication and specific activations around accessibility in 6 days of being here is super strong from the staff team. We're seeing it across every one of our program areas. And also having worked in Oregon's travel industry, we see the value of this and the leadership from Travel Lane County on it, because everybody deserves that aha moment.
Great job, thank you.
Chair Trieger, Commissioner Senega, one other accessibility program that we would like to highlight is the county and their placement of the Moby mats in Florence. That was something that we were talking to Oregon Coast Visitors Association about funding as part of our destination development program, and Brett and the team over there just saw the vision and got it done. So really excited about that, and we'll continue to look for more and more accessibility opportunities.
Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Carrie, I don't know about you, but when I heard that figure that you took $800,000 from 2.1% of TLT funds and now it's worth $8 million, if that's the only thing you did, what, $4 million? All right, well, if that's the only thing you did in 28 years, dang, congratulations of you. That was really great. I mean, right? But you've done so much, it would take me a lot of time to really individually thank you. I learned something in Kenya one time when I was there, that rather than saying thanks for everything, which just sounds so generic, they actually thank you for specific things. So I've got 5 pages of thank yous I want to read right now. No, I'm kidding. But really, individually, you've done so much for the county and so much for Travel Lane County, and you've built just a superb culture over there, a superb team that just, gave you all the freedom and the support, and that is going to do that for Samara as well. And I'm just really excited as I'll get out to be part of that committee and to help you and Samara any way that I can as a county commissioner. Just to share that excitement and to get some of that stuff to my colleagues, I just want to say, Samara, your enthusiasm and your passion is contagious, and it's only overshadowed by your brilliance and excellence in what you've done in the past. So I have really high hopes for us to take this to another level, and anything I can do personally for you, I'm at your disposal. So I just want to put that out. The 10-second videos, I must say, I did travel recently, and I was in baggage claim enough time to log 38 minutes of watching that. So I'm probably a lot of those clicks on your statistics there. But I wanted to also ask some specific questions so my colleagues could kind of get on the brain that I've shared being in your committee about where maybe we might be heading. You had mentioned that volleyball tournaments, for lack of, you said track, I'm going to say spiked, low season numbers. What other sports are on the horizon, and Andy, feel free to jump in here too, that you think will gravitate us toward those marked increases in what we call the shoulder season? If volleyball can spike something that much, what other kinds of needle movers sports can we as a board help with to get sooner to the market table to move those needles in the shoulder season, in your opinion?
Yeah, I really, anything that can be done in the winter season, tournaments that bring in that youth sport. We see that youth sport spends more in our community, so that impact stretches beyond those lodging dollars in a nice, deep way. So, that can be roller derby, that could be an indoor track facility, which would really round out the track brand. But there's a lot of opportunities for us to leverage indoor winter activity, especially when we can get to the youth or the tournaments. You're bringing in a lot of business, and we're also bringing in that energy for our community participation in those sports and just building a culture of sport and active lifestyle for all of our residents as well.
Awesome. The reason I say that is because I want to share with my colleagues, I've had a lot of interest in hockey. And so we have a hockey rink that is possible that we could do some kind of remodeling and some insightful investments there. So I want to also put that out for my colleagues. The other thing that I want to have, maybe this is for another time, but I want to ask this question anyway. We had some slight criticism when we had the track venue here, that although we have a world-class track venue, some of the complaints of the participants was there wasn't really anything to do outside of the track arena. Is that something also too that Travel Lane County as a whole is trying to bring to the table, that there's recreational opportunities that are more than what we have at this point?
Absolutely, that's part of the destination development work, but I think more than anything, that's about the storytelling and making sure that the resources and the opportunities that we have outside of track infiltrate people's awareness of our community. I mean, it's so easy to get a splash of Tracktown and you're here because of your passion, whether that's as an athlete or an official or a fan, that you're thinking track. And part of our challenge that's before us is to make sure that the other opportunities that we have are uplifted, and there is always opportunity to grow in as a destination, whether that's through the access to existing opportunities or that's new opportunities in the community.
Great, and go ahead, Andy.
Oh, I was just going to say, as soon as I do what Greg told me to do, a couple of things come to mind. One is going back to the data sources that we have. We also use a program called Zartico to look at movement around the area and spend, so we can tie that to an event. And one of the things we've been looking at are some of these track meets, and to see that when there's a lot of intense activity around the venue, but also that they're going to the coast, that they're going to the mountains. And I think Carrie might have shared with you the story of the couple athletes who, while they were here, went up to Sahaley Falls, took an Uber up, and then realized that they had no service, so they couldn't get home. And some nice passerby coming from Central Oregon back to Eugene brought them back. So we can track that now with this data source and looking at what people are doing. What are those travel patterns when they're coming for a specific event, but then where are the other places they're going? And obviously the coast is a big draw for many of our visitors. But so yeah, we feel like we have a lot of great things to share with them, and we'll continue to try to tell those stories on how they can access that. And we have some great partners. Johnny Helfrich and Helfrich Rafting, they developed an in-town rafting trip specifically for these types of events where people may not want to take a half-day or a full-day trip up to McKenzie and get on the river for an hour, hour and a half, and really see the beauty that's right here in our backyard.
Yeah, great. There's just one last question I have too, and that's if we're, as County Commissioner Board, looking for the big ticket picture, and I think Commissioner Buck brought up a really great talking point, is it convention space or indoor track space? What's our priority in your opinion?
Multi-use. We need flexible space.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Well,
We need a big building.
I will just, excuse me?
We need a big building.
Appreciate all the comments of my colleagues, echo them. We'll particularly amplify some things Commissioner Buck brought up. You mentioned roller derby. I miss when we used to have the Emerald Roller Derby in town. That was some fun. Those women are amazing. Convention center space is absolutely something critical, just the kinds of business and opportunity it would bring to us and how it meshes with some of the county's goals as an organization, particularly around economic development. And I know from the hoteliers, it's something that is certainly of interest. And of course, a multi-use indoor facility. The question of both of these things is always where and how we're going to pay for it.
Yep.
So I just want to especially add my voice to the chorus of appreciation for all the accessibility initiatives. It is one of those things that there is not a single person among us who at some time in their life will not experience some kind of need for support, whether that's the hearing loops or the something like the Moby Maps. Actually had a friend just reach out to me, didn't know about them, was just at the coast with family in town and texted me and said, is this a Lane County thing? I think they were out near Driftwood Shores or Hasita Head maybe. Mm-hmm. And she's just an older person who doesn't have great balance. And it was just so much easier for her to walk on a Moby Map. She didn't have an assistive device or anything, but just the surface was much easier than the sand. So terrific. With the hearing loops, I'm just very curious Are those just a one-time expense, or is there ongoing expense associated with that program? Is it about finding one-time dollars to increase the capacity for where those can be used and then it's done? What are the?
Yes, I thank you for that question, Chair Trieger. I think that the great thing about it is for many of the uses, so a front desk hotel loop, it's a little amplifier, a microphone that the desk clerk speaks into, you turn it on and it's done. There's no maintenance. You check it once a month to make sure it's working and everything's good to go. So there's a really kind of low upfront cost, no real kind of training or long-term expense. For looping a room like this, you know, the expense is going to range from, again, the size of the room and how much work has to be done to get the loop actually embedded around the flooring or into the ceiling. And so those range from, you know, the Wildish Theater, which was the last one we worked on, which was about, I think, $46,000. Again, there's no real maintenance once it's in. I mean, I suppose that, you know, somebody could accidentally cut the wire and you'd have to splice it, but there's not much there. The building facility itself can be challenging. So when we looked at, say, a meeting space like Venue 252 with all that concrete and metal, that ticket came in at about $100K. So every place is a little bit different, but in terms of ongoing costs, there's not a lot. We encourage our partners to think about it when they're doing remodeling. That's the time to get it in. The other encouraging thing, when we went and received our award from the Hearing Loop Association of America, there's a lot of new technology that's coming on board that could just revolutionize the industry. And it's not quite there yet, but it's more of an infrared system that doesn't require a loop. The hearing aid manufacturers haven't put the technology in all their models yet. You know, the T-coil that allows you to connect to the loop is more ubiquitous now. This new technology that's emerging, I think we'll see it come along pretty quickly. And once that's in place, then it just becomes so much easier for folks to just, you know, install that, people to be able to kind of connect up to it. And so it's an exciting arena.
Great. Well, that's great to know. Those are basically one-time capital expenses, and then you're done.
Yep.
So grants and things and fundraising that's fantastic. Great. Thank you so much. I think that's all we have. And in the interest of time, if there's anything you didn't get to say that you really want us to know for today, please take a minute to do so.
No, I appreciate the thoughtful questions and look forward to our work together.
Great. Thank you so much. And again, welcome. Moving along to county administration announcements, and we do have an elections update, and we have our very own self-proclaimed elections nerd, our clerk, Dina Dawson, here to give us her elections update herself. And welcome. We're so happy to see you. We know you've got just a few things going on over in your office, but we appreciate you taking the time to be here in person.
Thank you. Hi. Hi, everyone, Chair Trieger and commissioners. Pleased to be here today to sneak away from the office for a few minutes to provide an update. And I always appreciate the opportunity to come and give these in person, and also just appreciate being able to provide an update weekly to make sure that everyone is informed of what's happening. And I'm going to start with the additional results from the DMV audit. I'm sure that you may have seen the press release by now or seen it on the news. But yesterday we were notified through an emergency meeting with the Secretary of State's office that due to their ongoing audits at the DMV and a second round, they identified an additional 953 potential non-citizens throughout the state. And the state drops into a secure FTP folder the number that are specific to each county, a file for us to process. And so we discovered yesterday afternoon late that there were an additional 35 potential non-citizens that were registered through this DMV technician error. One of those mistakenly registered voters has returned a ballot to vote in Lane County. Our team right now is attempting to contact and correspond with that voter to determine whether they had achieved citizenship by that time. Each of the 35 new records has been inactivated, and we're working to notify registrants of the error that occurred. And as a side note, when this originally happened, we met with the Secretary of State's office and asked if they would provide us translations so that these letters that we're sending, in the event that the receiver English wasn't their first language, that there was some sort of a notice that would alert them, here's where you can go for additional translated documents, so that there was value in these communications. And so the letters that we're sending out today do have translated notices in the 5 languages that are covered in Lane County. And additionally, the 11 that we'd sent letters to originally, we'd sent them a second notice that had that translated language. We want to be able to correspond with these folks and see if they have since attained citizenship, and let them know that this happened through no fault of their own. So we were also advised yesterday that the DMV has concluded their audit. We received a frequently asked questions document that I hope was shared out that includes the details of what their audit included, how many records were audited, and the results of that audit. But in speaking with the Secretary of State's office, they believe that this is the final number of records that were that need to be audited. And we expect, if there are more, we're going to process them. We're just going about our work of administering elections, and anything that's on top of it, we are working as quickly as possible to make sure that folks are inactivated and not receiving ballots, and in the event that they are citizens, making sure that they are registered to vote and that they're receiving those ballots. So what we learned is that the issue stemmed from DMV technicians mistakenly selecting U.S. passport or U.S. birth certificate from a drop-down menu when the applicant had provided either a foreign passport or a foreign birth certificate. And DMV is working to put controls in place to increase the accuracy of the data that they're transmitting to the Secretary of State, which then comes through our statewide voter registration system for us to process. And again, there was, in a press release yesterday, a 2-page frequently asked questions that really kind of went into the details about what had occurred and outlined the steps that the DMV is taking, which includes some pretty common sense practices of separating items in a drop-down from so that technicians are less likely to make this error, and putting additional controls in place, which I'm just going to go on the record and say that when we are operationalizing legislation that comes out with major changes like this, it's really important in the beginning to make sure that those controls are put in place. So and when something becomes a law, it's really important that we make sure that there's support and infrastructure in place to make sure that these types of things don't happen. So I have additional updates, and I'll be happy to answer any questions in the end. But now on to the things that I love, and I'm so happy to hear, just to provide an update of where we are in election planning. It was really outstanding that by Friday that we mailed our military and overseas ballots, and we mailed about 2,100, and that's so exciting. Because in addition to mailing ballots to that group of individuals, we also send them an email that lets them know that they have the opportunity to vote a ballot and electronically transmit that back to us. And so we already have almost 100 ballots that have been returned by military and overseas citizens. And yesterday was the very first day that someone that's going to be away when ballots are mailed can come in and get an absentee ballot over the counter. And it was a very exciting day yesterday, because we just had people in and out all day long getting ballots that are very fearful that they're going on vacation and they're not going to be there when their ballot is mailed. So it was a fun day in the office for us, because people are very excited to participate. So I wanted to talk a little bit about our audits that we do for the election, because right now we're preparing for our public logic and accuracy test. And each county performs 2 logic and accuracy tests during an election cycle. There's a public logic and accuracy test before we even start tabulating ballots, and then we do one after the election. And these tests are to ensure that just basic administrative errors aren't happening, that ballots aren't smudged, that timing marks aren't smudged, that ballots are going to read appropriately, that people that are using pink pens, that pink pen is read by the machine. So we create these test decks of ballots and we document what the expected results are, and then we run those ballots through the voting system and we make sure that the anticipated results or expected results match. We invite folks to come and observe that process, and there's a provision in law that allows for party members of local parties to come and participate in that process, and they actually certify that they participated and observed that process. So we will spend as much time with those folks to go through the process, show them how it all works, and really educate them on what these audits do. So we have the 2 public logic and accuracy tests that we do for each election, and then after we've run our final results, we begin to conduct a hand count. It's a statutory hand count. The Secretary of State's office determines a random group of contests and measures and batches of ballots that are hand counted, and then we bring in a group of our election workers in bipartisan teams to conduct that hand count, and then we compare those hand counted ballots to the tally system results, and that's a way that we're proving that what was on the ballot and that humans hand counted is the results that the voting systems tabulated as well. And so we're open for folks to come in and observe those processes, and I'm really hoping that we get a little bit more participation in observation this time around so that folks really understand. I hear the concerns. Come in and see the process so that you'll feel better, you'll sleep better at night. I sleep better at night because there are these audits in place. So we're doing our best to educate folks on those options, and they're live streamed as well. For our voter education piece, the schedule of ballot processing activities is up on our website now. That schedule shows when the audits or the hand count is, when the logic and accuracy tests take place. It shows when we're collecting ballots, receiving ballots, deconstructing ballots, counting ballots. Shows when the live stream starts. It shows when the ballot dashboards go live. So we're putting everything out there so that folks understand what's happening when it's happening, and then they can come in and observe. And I'm happy to hear if anyone has any other ideas on how we can be more transparent about our processes. I'm already radically transparent. Let's see if I could take it up another level. I mean, I really am excited about our transparency initiatives here in Lane County. So visit the website. We've got lots of graphics available to help folks understand what our security measures are, what it looks like to process ballots, the 8-step processing guide, the live stream. The results schedule for the upcoming election is already available. The drop site information is available. So any question that you have right now, go to the website and the answer should be there. If not, contact us and we will make sure that we get that updated. Let's talk about election security. We really are, I'm monitoring election threats daily, and we receive notice often from our partnerships with multiple agencies of credible threats to drop sites, credible threats to mail, credible threats to election administrators. Here's what you should be on the lookout for. Here's what's spiking this week. Here's what some of the concerns are. So we're monitoring all of these items daily, and it's unfortunate, but it's helpful because we're able to test our processes and make sure that we're prepared in the event that something does happen. We really are doing our best, making our best effort to make sure that our election process, our staff, and the public are safe when participating in elections in Lane County. Part of what we're doing to prepare is in a partnership with Lane County Emergency Management. We're hosting a tabletop training exercise tomorrow, actually. And typically before an election, I correspond with all of our public safety partners, sheriff, police. Here's when drop boxes open. Here's what it looks like when our teams are collecting ballots. They wear these vests, they transfer ballots. I explain the entire process. We ask for increased drive-bys, monitoring of drop boxes, the election office. So we've always had this communication. Here's what the voters' rights are. observers, hear the observers' rules and responsibilities. So we've always had that communication, but thankfully, with our new emergency manager, when I met with her before the election, she said, let's test it. Let's do a tabletop exercise. And I'm grateful for that. And so tomorrow we will have members of the Secretary of State's office, the FBI, local police, sheriff, facilities, our team here, and we're gonna work through a scenario, and we're really going to test our processes. And a tabletop training exercise, usually the scenarios are kind of far-fetched, and there are what's called an inject, where you're processing, you're going about your day, and then bam, here's an inject of something that just happened. How are you gonna respond? And then 2 minutes later, bam, here's another inject. And so unfortunately, a lot of the injects and these hypothetical scenarios are becoming more and more real in my line of work. So it's a really good example for us in a test and a practice exercise tomorrow, and I look forward to putting our processes and our tests to all of our incidents response and preparations, putting them to the test, and identifying any areas where we need to shore up some holes. So I'll report back on that tabletop exercise. I'm also really happy to report that Lane County was awarded a grant through the Secretary of State's office for video surveillance camera at our drop boxes. It was a very short period of time that the grant became available, and drop box cameras have to be installed by the time ballots are mailed. So by October 17th, we will have 4 surveillance cameras installed, and the timing was so incredibly short that I absolutely could not have done it without Rosalind in the policy department, who helped get the grant all together, and Dawn in technology service, who is now still coordinating the installation of those cameras. I mean, determining the type of camera, where it's going to be located, coordinating with the technology services teams with the city and the locations where these are hosted. It's a Herculean effort to get these installed, and I really hope that in the future we can find funding, whether it's through a grant or through the budget process, to get cameras installed at all 21 drop sites, especially when we're getting alerts about credible threats to damage to drop boxes and how to target them and how not to get caught doing these things. So I'm really pleased that we're going to have 4 additional cameras installed. And the selection process, we looked for our busiest boxes, and also, to be frank, the ones that we could get done in this very short period of time. So I'm really excited about that and hope that we can expand that transparency and going forward. Sorry, I'm talking quickly because I added a lot of information to this update. I wanted to update on our I Voted coloring page. Unfortunately, we only had 1 artist submit artwork for, I had this grand vision of how this was going to work out, but you always have a backup plan. So I kind of, I took one of my adult coloring books and I took The Shape of Oregon and I kind of copied a bunch of stuff, and then I took it to work and I said, we don't have enough entry forms. We're going to do it anyway, and we're going to use this as our inaugural one. And then we have a staff member who is an artist that did me one better and hand drew our very first inaugural coloring page. And it's so uniquely Lane County. I want to cry because I'm very grateful that we have such a talented artist on staff that was able to do this in their own free time. But last night, my husband and I got all of our colored pencils out and our markers, and we sat at the table and we colored. So it's really exciting that we will have our inaugural coloring page on the back of our drop site flyer. And I'm excited, and I hope that it will help us show people, yay, yes.
Oh, that's great.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. It was super fun. I didn't know the fish I colored, it didn't come out exactly right, so. Luckily, I can color another one tonight if I want, because I printed out a couple copies for myself. But there's lots of things that we can do with this. Like, we can still have a coloring contest for folks, we want to drum up interest, and so we have added the entry form back to our website, and along with this and people's ballots are instructions that say, if you're interested in drawing something up for future use in countywide elections, please submit it. So I'm really happy that this will be something I'd like to see continue for years to come. And I have never seen this in any other county. As far as I know, we're the first county in the country to use a coloring page. So I like to be the first at doing these things. So I'm really excited that we were able to get this done. And I look forward to when people start receiving their ballots, to seeing what people are sharing on social media with their colored renditions. Yes. Let's talk about just a couple of upcoming deadlines. I'll do the next update, and it likely won't be in person but October 8th. So I wanted to cover a couple of things between now and then. And the voter registration file is securely transmitted to the ballot vendor on Monday, October 7th, just a few weeks away. This is a really important time for folks just to go on to OregonVotes.gov and make sure that their address is up to date. This is a period of time where if you don't update your address now, you're going to get that replacement ballot scenario in the future where we sent one to your old address and now you've updated your address. So this is a great time to do some maintenance on your own voter registration record. The deadline to register to vote for first-time registrants is October 15th. So that will be here before we know it. So if you're thinking about registering to vote, do it today. I want folks to keep in mind that there's a 21-day waiting period if you're automatically registered to vote through the DMV. A lot of people associate Oregon with motor voter and know that when you go to the DMV, you get automatically registered to vote unless you opt out. So there's a 21-day window. And it's heartbreaking to me when someone comes to ask for a ballot and find out that they were not registered to vote timely. So when in doubt, go to OregonVotes.gov and check your registration or contact our office. It's really critical that people provide, I always say, update your voter registration record. When you move, treat it like a utility. You have to update your utilities when you move, update your voter registration record as well. So ballots are going to be hitting the mail stream October 17th. All 21 drop sites are open this election, and I wanted to note that the Lowell drop site has moved to the new City Hall building, which is also known as the Maggie Osgood Library. And here, the Pearl Street box has just moved a few feet down the street, but it's surrounded by parking, so folks should be prepared to navigate that change as well. And then the live stream starts on October 17th when ballots are mailed. And that is all that I have to update today. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. To the board. Questions, comments? Vice Chair.
This may be telegraphing a little bit, but I was at a meeting last night at the Springfield Economic Development Agency, and a man came up and did a public testimony about his concern about what you're talking about. Intimidation, people having firearms around ballot voting boxes, permitted parades that kind of get a little out of control with some wacky, drinking and whatever else goes with that. Is there something, I'm just going to put this out, to support you and the Elections Office of Lane County, I just want to put out to my colleagues, is there something that maybe we as a board might want to do to put out a statement about our position on intimidation and voting violence and that sort of thing upcoming? This is like a board assignment. I'm just kind of telegraphing it and wondering if the board's interested in pursuing that. So thank you, Dina, for your help. And my prayers are that you're working really hard and that you're good. You're okay. So I feel some emotion in your voice, but I know you're there and you're passionate, and I just want to make sure that you're okay and we're doing everything we can to keep you safe.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Commissioner Seneca.
Yeah, as always, great presentation. Yeah, I think you're doing an absolute excellent job at the transparency. It started the last election cycle with the cameras and explaining, and I would love another tour to see how things are going whenever you get a chance. If you get some breathing room, I really enjoyed that last time. I did have a question that just popped into my mind because I'm sure it would get asked. If someone comes and gets their ballot early, what's put in place to make sure one doesn't get mailed to them?
Sure. The statewide voter registration system we track every ballot. So every time a ballot is issued, an original ballot is issued. If somebody returns the ballot, it's marked as received, and the system will not issue another ballot. If somebody updates their address after the original one was mailed, the original one is voided and a replacement is issued. So there's a unique ID, a ballot ID, on every single ballot that's issued. And so every time there's a change to the sequence of ballots, the original or previous ballot ID is voided.
And by voided, you mean if it were to come back in, it would not be counted, it would be...
Correct. If it was to be returned, the system would flag it. When we try to scan the barcode into the system would flag it, this ballot has been voided, and it's outstacked and reviewed by a staff member. So there are times where people return both ballots because they got issued a replacement. 2 ballots are never counted. The replacement ballot is counted. It gets really tricky, like in a primary election. We mailed you a party ballot for one party, but then you've changed your party. So you returned the one party, and then you're like, oh no, I did change my party, and you vote the other party. The original one is held off to the side, and if you never return the other one, then we'll go back and count it. But there are systems and controls in place in the statewide system that ensure that only one ballot is counted, and by voiding and issuing replacements, it's easy to administer those types of changes in the system.
Excellent, thank you. Appreciate
You're welcome.
Commissioner Buck.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for what you're doing. I know that this time of year has got to be one of the most intense, and as we get closer to Election Day, you and your team are probably feeling the security threats, and I can't imagine what that's like in your shoes. I absolutely agree with the sentiments of our Vice Chair regarding putting out some kind of board statement regarding safety, because I want to make sure that you and your team and all the volunteers are safe, as well as people being able to drop off their ballots without the fear of intimidation. As the level of anxiety in the country goes up, closer we get to Election Day, we want to be able to tamp down those fears as much as possible. And absolutely, if you think of something else that we can do to assist you in any way, we're all ears.
Thank you.
Thank you to you and your team, for sure.
I will just add my appreciation. And you said 4 of our 21 boxes will have cameras this cycle? Great, thank you. I look forward to getting all 21 of them covered. And once again, the Policy Division to the rescue, along with TS, for supporting that effort. So just another example of the interconnection of all our different departments and how everybody works together. I love that coloring contest. I also am a fan and have a large collection of colored pencils and markers, so I will be coloring the back of my Dropbox sheet and snapping a picture and posting it. And so if there's a hashtag or something, I'm sure Devin's all over getting the word out on that. So I'm excited to do that and get the word out, because that is fun. And I just wanted you to remind folks, because there are a lot of people that still, for whatever reason, don't want to vote by mail, don't trust vote by mail, and want to vote in person. And I can remember queuing up in line at the old Whitaker Elementary School back in the day, and also back east, waiting in line, heading into that little booth with the curtain. If somebody really wants that experience to step in a voting booth and vote in person, can they still do that in Lane County?
They can come to the election office and request their ballot, and we do have 30 booths set up. There's no curtain, but there are privacy shields set up, so you absolutely can come in to the office if you haven't received your ballot, and you can vote it in the office and drop it off. And with absentee ballots that are being issued over the counter right now, most folks are voting them right there and dropping them off. I would suggest that if you would like that experience, that you do it early, because some folks still procrastinate and will show up on election night. So we are planning for long lines on election night for folks that need a replacement ballot or just want to drop their ballot off. So if you want the in-person experience without the lines, come in now, or come in and wait in line on election night, because that could be fun also, but be prepared to wait.
Do you have a way of making, pardon me, the voter pamphlet available since it hasn't been printed and sent out yet to folks? I know there's an online version. Is that available to people with their absentee, who come in now to do their absentee ballot in person?
We're sharing the link to the online form, but the Secretary of State's office will be mailing out several copies to our office that we make available over the counter. But right now, the online version is what we're making available to folks.
Excellent. Great. Well, thank you. Yep. And particularly thank you for your really clear way of addressing what's happened with the glitch in the motor voter, and for also emphasizing that someone who isn't yet a legal citizen at the time a ballot may have been mailed doesn't mean that they're not in this country legally, that they may not have attained their citizenship in time to actually cast that ballot, how small that number is. And to me, it's a lot like when there's signature discrepancies and you work to remedy those, or any other of the ways that things just, in a system the size of this system, the fact that we have such a small number of ballots that for whatever reason might have a discrepancy, and that you have so many systems in place to catch those and address those and make sure people who do have a right to cast that vote have that access, and those that don't know what the issue was, and that it was a systems issue and not a personal attempt on their part to circumvent a system. So thank you for just, as always, having such strong systems and so clearly explaining them to us.
Absolutely. This is administrative work. I'm an election administrator, so I appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you again for the time today.
Great. Thank you. Take good care. Thank you. Thanks for coming in person. We really appreciate your time. All right, we do have two items both under Community Justice and Rehabilitation Services. Oh, unless there are any other announcements from administration.
No,
sorry. Thank you. So moving on to item 7A. This is an order before us, 24-09-24-05, in the matter of appointing some members to our Public Safety Coordinating Council. And Erin Reynolds is with us remotely, and she is the chair of our Public Safety Coordinating Council. And I'll welcome here in Harris Hall Denise Walters with the Lane Council of Governments, who supports this commission as well, and turn it over to the staff table for a presentation.
Thank you, Chair Trieger, and good morning, everyone. Our chair, Erin Reynolds, will be leading the presentation. So, Chair Reynolds.
Okay, thank you. This is the first time I've spoken. Can you hear me okay through
Yes,
this
we've got you.
system and device?
Ooh.
Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Chair Trieger and commissioners. Also want to recognize Commissioner Senega. He is the vice chair of the Public Safety Coordinating Council. We have one item, but two actions for you today. So we'll summarize them because you've had a really full morning, and both those previous topics were really interesting, and I'm glad I got to see you in action on those. So the Lane County Public Safety Coordinating Council has two membership appointments. That's item A that we're requesting today. And then we're also requesting some considerations by the board for updates to the PSCC, that's the Public Safety Coordinating Council's bylaws. We're asking to add 2 additional seats for community members, or by state statute, they're called lay citizens. And then we also have some housekeeping items related to these bylaws changes that we'd also like to change. All these items were in your packet. And I think just because this is awkward and I'm doing this virtually, I'm gonna turn it back over to Denise and see if there's some other things she would like to cover, and or turn it back over to the chair to see if you'd like me to cover any other details.
Thank you, Chair Reynolds, and thank you for making time from the City Managers Association conference in Pittsburgh. Clarification on our first appointments. We are asking for the board, per our bylaws, the Board of County Commissioners appoints our community members. And I think you had a chance to look at both Nancy and Sean's applications. We're over the moon and so thrilled to have them with us. They've started showing up in force for us. So just wanted to acknowledge their time, energy, and passion and the difference we've seen already. And then we have 2 confirmations for District Attorney Perosa with DA Perlow retiring and enjoying life to the fullest, I hope. We need to officially appoint D.A. Perosa, and then Annie Hertz, who is Sponsor's new executive director, a reentry services provider position that is appointed by the board. And we took some time in the memo to explain how, with that being a sole source provider, it's an appointment. We didn't have an open process like we did for community members to see who would be interested in participating. So with that, that's a summary on the board order appointing our members.
Great. Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, I will ask for a motion.
Chair, I move to approve the order appointing Nancy Pants, Sean McQueenie to community member lay citizen seats, Chris Perosa as district attorney, and Annie Hers to the reentry service provider seat on the Lane County Public Safety Coordinating Council per agenda order 2409-2405.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. It has been moved by the vice chair and seconded by Commissioner Seneca to approve the order. Any discussion to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0 with Commissioner Farr absent excused. Passage of order number 24-09-24-05 in the matter of appointments to the Public Safety Coordinating Council as presented. Thank you so much. And looks like you're both staying on for the next item, which is also a board order for the bylaws revisions that were referenced earlier. And Denise or Aaron, if either of you want to make any introductory comments to this item, take it away.
Thank you again, Chair. Yes, our presentation was a summary of that. We have had great success with some of our diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice and belonging work that we've been doing, and really recognizing that a part of the system that we as a board are recommending is adding 2 additional community members, which would mean we'd have 2 community member positions. That would bring us to a total of 5. And that is the most significant bylaw change that we have provided. There are some other small housekeeping items, and in the packet there was a redlined version of what those changes were. And I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions or comments from the board? Would you like to make the motion, Commissioner?
Sure. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve order 24-09-24-06 in the matter of revising the bylaws of the Lane County Public Safety Coordinating Council. Public Safety Coordinating Council Chair, per Chair, Aaron Reynolds.
Is there a second?
Second that.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Seneca and seconded by the vice chair to approve the order. Any discussion to the motion? Oh, seeing none?
Stuff.
Nope. All right, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0 with Commissioner Farr absent excused. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us, Aaron. We appreciate you being here. Enjoy the rest of your conference. And thank you, Denise, as always, for coming to the table.
Thank you.
It's good to see you. With that, we have no more business on our agenda for the morning. So at 10:56, we are recessed until 1:30 when we will be back here in Harris Hall.